Everyone? Welcome to the J and J Show, the J and J podcast. This is episode number 10. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Excited to come at you. We got a lot of interesting stories. We're going to go over the stories right now of what we're going to talk about. We got a lot of good ones. There's a lot going on. Maybe we'll cover it all. Maybe we won't. But we're going to cover Elon Musk slamming Disney, saying, hey, you're going woke, you're going broke. He is going all out when it comes to Disney. RFK is saying that he doesn't have enough information to make a decision based on gender affirming care on the PBD podcast, the Town Hall. Elon Musk was warned that AI could destroy human colony on Mars. Bill Maher says Trump was right. We are raising kids to hate America, which is pretty interesting. We're going to talk about that. More than 50% of voters support disqualifying Trump from 2024 ballot if he is convicted of a crime. That was a poll that was released. Jeff, did you see about the house in Virginia that exploded?
No, I did not.
Oh, we're going to get into that. It's literally out of a movie. As cops were approaching with a search warrant, the house explodes. There's videotape of that. We'll watch that and react to that. One of the main stories we're going to talk about is Conor McGregor to run for president of Ireland. And Trump says he's going to be a dictator, but only for one day. Taylor Swift is winning Times Person of the Year. RFK admits to being on Epstein's plane twice. We got a lot of stories to get into. Final Republican debate filled with fireworks and accusations from Vivek and Christie. And that's pretty much it. We're going to see if we can get to all of it tonight on J&J Podcast. Jeff, how are you doing? I heard you went to the RFK Town Hall at Valuetainment. How was that?
Yeah, it was good. It was very good. Anytime, I made a post about it. Did you see the post that went like dude, it's funny. If people will like something, I posted on Instagram, Jeff the Entrepreneur. Let me show you this post. Did you see it? The image?
I asked you how it was.
Yeah, I know. That's what I want to say. See this image?
I do see that, yeah.
So it was good because what I wrote in it was kind of about how it was, and I'll write this here. We need to embrace, and I really wrote this, we need to embrace the diversity of perspectives, recognizing that understanding is the key to giving people a voice and changing lives. The discussions during the event have sparked numerous thoughts about the future and ideas of our nation. So it was good. Robert F. Kennedy definitely cares about this country and nation. I truly believe that in his own way. And, it's funny, when I was young, I always want to see an independent win. I remember being like, I don't want to be, I always liked underdogs, right? I remember liking Ross Perot back in the day, and mom and dad were like, you can't like Ross Perot. I'm like, why not? He's like big ears, right? So it's funny, big ears, a distinctive voice with RFK. I told RFK about our podcast, actually, what we were doing. Nice. And getting the voice out. Listen, you saw it, you were there. I'm not gonna lie. By the way, shout out to Heather Hall. This was probably the highlight of it. I got this gift here that she gave me. Okay. She gave Patrick and David a gift. Do you see it?
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lamb, a lion, and Jesus. So she gave me that. So those are the highlights. The Scar Lounge was the highlights. The Town Hall, our RFK, who I have seen in snippets, I've never seen him in a long form. It was pretty boring. I'm not going to lie. There were certain parts where my mind was going away. It was during a work day, so I was solving different things at the business. It did not have the same, energy as the Vivek one did, right? It was very, could put you to sleep. The one part, which we will get into, is when at the Town Hall, Pastor Ben David challenged him about, kids and what's the age of right for them to start, parental consent for whatever, it's stupid, like gender transition, right?
Transition, gender affirming care.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can't say transvestites anymore. Just anyways reminds me of that.
Well, I mean, that's up to you. You could say whatever you want.
Well, yeah.
Free speech is still somewhat here. But all right, thank you for that quick recap. I'm excited to get into more of the RFK stories. I want to go down the line because we got a lot of stories to get into.
Yeah.
You put this one in, and I want to get your thoughts on it. We're going to start off with Elon Musk slamming Disney. It seems like we're going to go over the stories right now of what we're going to talk about. Hey, Jeff, if you something a lot going on, maybe we'll cover it all. Thank you.
Is that me?
Elon Musk slamming Disney,
it is
saying,
me.
hey.
It is me.
Not me. I've learned my lessons.
It is me. All right. Well, we're streaming. I was trying to show the link out before. People were asking.
Okay, so this is a Forbes story. Musk slams Disney CEO Bob Iger again after Disney suspends ads on X. Billionaire ex-owner Elon Musk called out Disney CEO Bob Iger in an onslaught of posts on his social media platform Thursday morning, asking why Disney does not suspend its ads on Facebook or Instagram over recent allegations content on those sites enabled child sex trafficking and assault, as Musk continues to take swipes at Disney over its decision to pull ads from X. So, let's see. I'm going to see if they have some. They don't have the tweets. All right. So Musk linked his CNBC report in a post on X Thursday morning about a lawsuit filed by New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres that alleges Facebook and Instagram parent company Meta enabled child sexual assault material to be distributed on the platforms, and that Meta failed to identify predator networks on its sites. Meta has denied those claims. In his post, Musk asked why Disney does not launch an advertiser boycott on Meta's platforms, arguing Iger is endorsing this material. Forbes reached out to Disney for comment. Musk has faced harsh criticism in recent weeks as advertisers suspended ads on X amid mounting concerns over rising anti-Semitism on X after a scathing report from a left-wing watchdog found some advertisements on X from companies including Apple and IBM appeared next to pro-Nazi content, and after Musk endorsed a post on X widely condemned as anti-Semitic. I wish they had it there, the post, because that's just a claim, and then you go and you see into the post, you realize it's not. But in another post Thursday morning, Musk said that Bob Iger thinks it's cool to advertise next to child exploitation material, calling Iger a real stand-up guy, while misspelling his name as Iger. Musk also posted a link to a November 28th piece in right-wing satire outlet Babylon Bee titled "Disney Awarded Defense Contract After Producing More Bombs Than Lockheed Martin," while Musk captioned the link, "Congratulations on the award. Well deserved." Musk has taken off the gloves. He's going off after Bob Iger. How do you process this, Jeff?
It's just so long before we did an episode since last. I want to go, if you go on Disney's, I think it's Disney's Twitter, and you go on to it, and maybe I should have pulled it up, but you'll see so many people. It's Disney Plus, and Indiana Jones came out on Disney Plus, and it was like, canceling my subscription, canceling. Like, just to play. And I know it's on Twitter, so it's like Elon Musk app. I'm sure it's not anywhere else. My whole point in saying that is, listen, Earth will decide, and good for Elon, man. Good for Elon saying it. He's right. There's a lot that gets swept under the wrong rug with Jeffrey Epstein, child sex trafficking. We make all this news. We don't hear about that. If sex trafficking numbers are so big, Operation Freedom was #1 in the box office, and they tried to hide it. I mean, you can go again, anytime it comes to sex trafficking, everything. And there's been a whole ploy. And actually, I know this isn't in our lineup, but I was listening to Andrew Tate and George when you sent it to me, George Janko. I was actually just talking to one of the guys who works with Jake Paul down here, and we were talking about the podcast for everyone that's coming up. Cool, it's a cool spot to be here. But anyway, Alex and AJ, shout out to them. But I wound up just really seeing just what an onslaught it is that, and this is why it's good that we're speaking up and doing this, because a lot of times, more so than not, we're letting the bigger media companies dictate on who they want to silence, who they want to thing. They want to label something, they can do it no matter what. Anybody can be, whatever it is. And if you just print up enough, stats on it, like you even just said, Forbes had it right on there, pro neo-Nazi, right? If there's enough stuff on that, and now I'm talking about it, right? Now it gets surfaced like, oh, well, that's why, or whatever it was, right? So my whole take is good for Musk. Instagram and Meta are nowhere simple. It's funny. I came, there's a lot of things, even Twitter or X is still figuring out with their algorithm, but I literally, and I said this before, the NC-17 rating on video games, the walk your kids out, where now everything's just everything anywhere, wherever it is. And there's less regulation on like stuff and really protecting children and their eyes to stuff is really disturbing. And Disney is just, it looks like as they've gone, and I love a lot of Disney movies, but now they've gone on such a breeding ground for really just not the best stuff. Like,
and this is what we'll get into this a little bit more on the RFK story, but it seems that unfortunately morals and where you're on a side of certain morals have become a right and left wing issue. So if you agree with this certain morals, then it's a left wing issue. If you agree on this side of morals, it's a right wing issue. And unfortunately, I don't even think that's the case anymore. I think it's just a people issue. I think that's one of the things that is a challenge, because now we're just branding people as, hey, you're either right wing or you're left wing. And it's like, why are we branding Elon Musk right wing and now Bob Iger's got to be left wing? Like, why? Because Elon Musk believes in free speech. When did free speech become a completely right wing thing? I thought that was supposed to be a liberal thing. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they were like, we want free speech. So really, I think it's kind of a indication of where we're heading as a polarized nation. But what I think is Elon Musk is the epitome of having FU money, telling everybody to go F yourself, and he's doing whatever the hell he wants. And one thing, a leadership lesson here, is he's doubling down. He is not taking anything back. He is doubling down and saying, hey, listen, this is what I said. I'm going to go after it again, which to me, I mean, listen, the balls you got to do to be that way. I want to jump into this next story, briefly cover this, but this is something that I find interesting, and we can tie it into a little bit of our boy, Mr. Donald Trump. But interesting, over the past few days, over the past week, Conor McGregor has made a political plunge. Conor McGregor has made a political plunge. He posted a poll on his X feed saying, who gets your vote for president as it stands today? McGregor with 87.9% of the vote, and the rest, and forgive me of my ignorance regarding the Ireland candidates, Bertie, Gary, and Enda, but respectively, each getting under 6% each. And then he's been posting about this potential competition if I run. Gary 78, Bertie 75, Enda 74, each with unbreakable ties to their individual parties' politics, regardless of what the public outside of their parties feel. These parties govern themselves versus govern the people, or me. 35, young, active, passionate, fresh skin in the game. I listen, I support, I adapt. I have no affiliation, boyish favoritism toward any party. They would generally be held to account regarding the current sway of public feeling. I'd even put it all to vote. There'd be votes every week to make sure I can fund. It would be not me in power as president, people of Ireland. It would be me and you. Conor McGregor making serious.
How many people like that post? Look at it. So 55,000.
55,000 likes, 5.2 million views. And he's been posting this. I mean, Ireland, your president, right here. He's got it right here.
Our boy Nathaniel, or did he just find that and put that up?
He found it and he put it up.
Well, that's good. Shout out to Nathaniel on the thing. Well, yeah, I'm glad we did this, dude. So with the president of, where was it? Argentina, Venezuela? Where's that guy? Fuero.
Argentina.
Dude, imagine this. Trump wins in America. Yeah, Conor McGregor there. We have Argentina. We have all the for the people presidents.
This is what I'm getting excited about. Politics.
Future looks bright.
Politics is a dying breed. The people are viewing it and they're saying, oh my God, I don't want anything more of this. Now, people are looking and saying, hey, man, why are these celebrities running? Why are the Trumps running? Why is The Rock talking about running? Why is Conor McGregor start running. They don't have any political backing or experience. But guess what? The people who have been in politics for the past 100 years have got us to the point we're at. There's that age-old saying, what got us here won't get us there. So if we're trying to get to the future, we have to adapt. We have to overcome. And what's happening is people like Conor McGregor, who is a fighter. And I would say, man, if this guy ran, his press conferences would be crazy. I don't think there would be anybody. I don't think there would be anybody who would like his debates would be insane. He would go right after him.
He's entertaining without even fighting. Like when 100%. And Dana White knew this. Dana White said, man, if this kid can fight, forget about it, right? And because he just met him and his energy was so, I mean, like I'll watch Conor riding a bike in training, whatever. Anything Conor, I'll stop the scroll and watch, right? Oh, how's Conor? Yeah, he was doing the interview at, what was he at? Francis Ngannou fight. He was there. He's doing an interview after, and it was just entertaining. Yeah, we'll get in the ring again,
People who don't even like Conor still talk about Conor. That is one of the hallmarks of him.
Dude, he is omnipresent. He does. Like, here's which is crazy because UFC wasn't that popular. Shout out to Dana White. Shout out to Conor McGregor. When Conor McGregor says, I own this sport, he ain't lying, man. Like, this is all through me. He made it. Like, I remember being at PF Chang's, a waiter in the back, didn't watch UFC at all to the point, knew about it, knew, the name's John Jones, but didn't watch it. And there was the kid, Tommy, who was hitting on the girl I liked, all tattooed up Tommy. And he goes, this is the first time I heard Conor McGregor's name. He goes, Conor McGregor must have been fighting Aldo at this time. I didn't watch that fight. It must have been and so he goes, Tommy's always like exuding his masculinity, right? Goes, Jeff, what do you think of Conor McGregor? And I didn't know I didn't know who this guy was, right? And I remember being like, yeah, and I didn't want to act like I didn't know fighting because then it's all I just, I knew football, right? It was UFC. And he goes, I feel like you'd like him. I don't know. I want to like him, but I can't like him. He's too cocky, And he goes, but I feel like him because you're cocky like him. That's what Tony said. And then sure enough, when I did go look him up after, I was like, oh, wow, this guy's like nobody else I've met before. Like,
so that, and listen, there's a lot of people who hate Conor McGregor, and a lot of those people are Khabib fans.
Same thing with Trump too, man. And listen, Conor definitely at the same way. As much as I'll say I love Conor, and same thing with Trump, man. You can say you like these guys, and they'll go and do something like, oh my God, I really don't write that off.
Makes it hard for the fans to defend him. Like,
by the way, like. Who are we to defend people anyway? You know what I mean?
Well, right. But like if you're a Conor McGregor fan and you watch him, say the crazy things against Dustin Poirier. And I like Dustin, right? And I like Dustin. Dustin, if you're ever on this podcast, I'm going to ask you, why are you always upset when you lose? I mean, excuse me, when you win. When Dustin wins, he always seems to be upset. Like,
yeah, he's still fighting. Listen, I saw, and I mean this, and maybe we'll have Dustin on. Dustin said he'll come on, whether we do it this way. I was going to have him in studio at Kokomo J's. Maybe he'll come down for that too. Because when I talk to him, and I mean this, Josh, like we're empaths. Some people have a gift where they can just read people and read how they're at. When I was there with Arturo at the Vault event, and I was talking to him, and he was just talking. I know it because I've been there, and I'm not there that much. It's so crazy reading Choose Your Enemies Wisely because it feeds a lot into this. He is fighting more than the fight. There's something else he's fighting. He's fighting against something else. Part of the reason why I like Jake Paul is when Jake Paul was sitting across Tyron Woodley, and Tyron Woodley and him were there, and they did the watch exchange. Tyron Woodley was talking about how he needed it, and us competitors, whatever it is, not to put myself in all the things, but I have whatever this is. I have that. Okay. Because I resonate so much with it. And when Tyron Woodley is like, no, I'm fighting for it. And then Jake Paul goes, I'm fighting for something different. He wasn't lying. Right. And then as Jake Paul's progression is, and whatever Jake Paul is in all this, everybody's fighting something, no matter whether you're fighting in the ring or you're fighting in the day. Everybody's fighting something. And a lot of times, I think some people, even when you win, if you have that chip on your shoulder, it's not good enough. You haven't gotten rid of it. You're fighting something different than the opponent in front of you. And that's where I think Dustin Poirier is.
Yeah, and it's funny. I was gonna say before you kind of mentioned that, or kind of went off with that, is that do you remember when Conor said, "I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody"? You know that saying, right? Now, do you know the story behind that, or no?
No, tell it to me.
So I believe he's fighting. It's the Eddie Alvarez fight. He's fighting Eddie Alvarez.
I just watched it recently. I watched it in its entirety. And it's funny. I only knew the end clip. I almost want to play it again. But I watched the entirety of it. Where's my second belt? It was the first time he was 2-time champion. That all happens up to it.
Right. So he's fighting Eddie Alvarez. But up to that point, he makes fun of Eddie Alvarez's wife. So Eddie Alvarez says, after this and after I beat you, you're going to apologize. You're going to apologize. You're going to apologize. So that was going up to the whole point. So that's why he said, he grabs the mic and says, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the fuck he wants. Right? And that was him being a marketer. And here's the crazy thing is, I personally don't agree with going after family members. Dana said that as well. I was like, don't go after family members. Conor crosses lines like I can't even imagine. But bringing this back to full circle, what we're talking about, if Conor does this in fighting, what would he do in politics? He went, and here's the thing: Conor lost
him
against
and Trump are very similar. They probably like each other.
Conor lost against Khabib, right, in UFC 229. But in that press conference, he said some crazy accusations against Khabib to the point where when he was saying it's funny. It's one of the greatest clips I've seen, even though it was a very dark press conference. He was like, it's one of the most interesting clips that I've seen. He was like, where Khabib says, you do this for money, I do it for honor. And then he looks at him like crazy. He's, mate, I have money. He's, I do this for loving fights. Whoa, you do this for money. See, you took money from, and he names the politician who's a communist. He put money into your camp. And then he goes, oh, I don't understand you. I don't understand. I don't understand you in English. He's, oh, now you don't understand me, right? Because he called Khabib out for taking money from a communist party that was like, just makes Khabib and his camp look bad. And Khabib's whole thing is, I do this with honor. I do it the right thing. And Conor was like, dude, no, you're too.
One reason why, even if you hate Trump or Conor and you couldn't hate them, you almost, even the people who hate Trump, respect his honesty on how much he is. Dave Chappelle said it in his Saturday Night Live skit. Man, that man told exactly what he was going to do, right?
Oh, an honest liar.
Yes, an honest liar. And same thing with Conor McGregor, man. You get more respect out of that than exactly what Elon Musk said, that people try to look good and do evil. Elon Musk said that. That's Khabib, Oh, I have honor and good, and then will do anything. Listen, nobody's perfect. Nobody's honor when you can have that in.
You come for money, I come for legacy. I have money. This is different. Why you took money from Magomedov? Hold on, you took money. You took money from Magomedov and you were a little lick-ass rat. Now what? Putin locked him up. Say something to Putin about locking Magomedov up. Say something. Ask him to release him. Now you don't understand. You mad rat. It's all about money. You don't do this, you don't do that. You're a fake lying rat. A fake lying. I'm real. I wear it on my chest. There's a gorilla on my chest. I wear it proud, mate. I don't lie about nothing. You're saying it's not about money, it's not about legacy. You're a lying bastard. When money got pumped into your camp by that little scumbag that thought you were a don. Now look at you. Now look at you there. Stay you now, not a being. You haven't got a washer. No money left. You come for money, I come for legacy.
Dude, I will say,
money. This is different. This is different.
How
you took money from Magomedov. Hold on, you took money. You took money from Magomedov.
Conor knows how to argue. I'll give him that.
He does, and I know the Khabib fans are gonna be pissed that I played that. Listen, Khabib's a great fighter.
Khabib has a good follow. Can I listen? There's an entertainment and a star factor about Khabib, but I will say this: although Khabib was winning, Conor made Khabib. He made Khabib. He made like I even became a fan of Khabib. Once I like the fight led up, I watched Khabib's fights. Like, oh my God, this is an eagle smothering guy. Is he gonna beat him? Is he not? Right. And man, it's a shame, man. I wish Conor won that fight. It's kind of like
I wish they did it again. I'm glad. I'm kind of glad that Khabib won and Conor lost, because as much as I like Conor, I think it was a good reset to the UFC. The only problem with it is it created these we'll get into other stories, but there's very toxic Conor fans, but created these extremely toxic Khabib fans who like think he is
now Khabib's even though Khabib's almost not left the sport as he's training like Islam and all these guys are in his camp. And now did you hear the Nelk boys with Dana White were like, hey, how about getting Islam with Conor, man? Isn't that like, And I mean,
that would be crazy. That would be
crazy because here's the thing. I love Conor. I really do. He broke his ankle. He got on peptoids, whatever he's doing now, right? The guy's a lot bigger now, right? 100%. You heal, however you heal. All these fighters, man. I'm with Craig Carton, who said every fighter or every footballer should be able to take steroids because they're poisoning their body for the greater good for entertainment, right? Like, so I don't know if anybody did that. I'm not like, thwarting steroids or whatever, but my point in saying that is it's just crazy because I don't even want to see Conor fight again. I'd rather see him run for president. If what was the story we were talking about? Was it Conor?
It was Conor. And speaking of Conor, we're going to go into somebody very similar to Conor. The next story is Donald Trump saying that he's going to be a dictator for one day. Now, Sean Hannity.
Play the clip. By the way, the whole headline of that they took that out of there is like ridiculous. By the way, I will say this, and I've said this about Trump. Trump has every single thing that a dictator has. He has the power, he has the money hungry, he has the fame, he has the arrogance. Okay. So is that 100% where 100%? Trump owns a lot of those things they have, the power hungry thing. But then again, so does Biden, I guess, because Biden doesn't want to give up power either. And the guys.
Let me tell you something. Trump's characteristics seem dictatorship. His actions don't seem dictatorship. Yeah, Biden's characteristics do not seem dictatorship, but his actions are dictatorship. When he was talking about, when he made it up against, I was just scrolling through my phone the other day and I saw when Omicron came out and it said, it'll be suffering and death for those who are unvaccinated of the hospitals that you will soon overwhelm this winter because you're unvaccinated. And that was what he said.
Who said that? Biden?
Biden did. Yeah. Let's see. Do I have it or do I not?
Is that on Twitter or where?
Yeah. So Biden said this when Omicron came out.
Biden, there's no way he tweets what he tweets. It's like,
of course not. But what it was he had, let me see if I could find it real quick. So I'll find it on here actually.
Dude, yeah, that's crazy. You're right. I will admit that too. Listen, let's get into the Trump story. I'll be a dictator for a day. It was in the Sean Hannity town hall, which by the way, I watch anytime I turn on Trump, and I don't watch everything. Actually, it was funny, right? RFK was talking. He asked him if he watched this is so crazy. If you watched the Governor DeSantis, Gavin Newsom debate, right? And what's his name? That was the first question, PBD, which I thought was a funny question that he opened up with.
This right here. Mm-hmm. We're intent on not letting Omicron disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we'll get through this. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. So our message to every American is clear. There's action you can take to protect yourself and protect your family. Wear a mask in public indoor settings, get vaccinated, get your kids vaccinated, and get a booster shot when you're eligible. Man, what the fuck, dude? Like, that is such a fucked up thing to say. Listen,
dude.
Hold on. I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm not. I got vaccines. My kids got vaccines. I'm not saying that I'm anti-vax, but that's such a fucked up thing to say. Saying those who choose not to take the vaccination, for the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. And by the way, that wasn't true. And what happened to be true was people actually took the vaccine, started getting sick and adverse reactions. Yeah. You couldn't say any of that, and now it actually came out. So that's what I mean when they say Trump is a dictator. That's dictatorship. That right there is saying, since you choose not to do this, we're going to shut you down. We're going to make sure you don't do this. We're going to make sure that you have only one option. We're not going to let you in anywhere. Where's your vaccine passport, motherfucker? And like, that's the shit that I was like, whoa, dude.
But I'll say right now, after listening to RFK the other day, I am anti-vaccine. That guy, man. I think I sent you a message while I was at the town hall saying, man, what is it about this guy that makes him so passionate? And listen, I think there's a lot of stuff to say about the medical and Pfizer and all these treatments too, because they, it's the medication and the cure are the same, right? Or the medication causes the illness because then they need more medication. Like the doctors, if you look at the doctor in the hospitals or the government, you really cannot just make everybody well and have them take vitamins and everything, because when you have no patients and they'd be out, right? So you got to keep the people sick. Like you just think of it as a business, that makes sense. So what do we make sense? Okay, let's make up that they all need this vaccine that gets them sick down the road so we can get these systems in. And then you create a whole system. And the one thing RFK did say is back when he was growing up, he didn't remember as many kids. I don't know, he's older than me, all with autism and everything like that. There was a lot less cases, right? And listen, the guy's done more research than me. He definitely knew about that, but didn't know about something else, which we'll talk about later on the show. But anyway, Claude, what were we talking about? Now I'm getting...
Well, yeah, one of the things that Tom McDonald said was Big Pharma doesn't cure you, dog, because every patient that gets cured is a customer lost. Here's the thing. Those companies are there for a reason to gain profit. If you don't see that, and if you think that, oh, they're just here to try and save our lives, that's not the case. You're ignorant. These companies are making a profit off your fear. 100%.
By the way, which I think is crazy, because here's the deal. Trump, Operation Warp Speed, got the vaccine up as fast as it can. Me, when it was happening, they were shutting down the world. I'm on camera with Cameron going into shopping right when they're shutting down the world, saying, and I called Ahmad to try and make a vaccine. So I was like, maybe, I'm not going to just sit here and watch something die. I have to know somebody. Not that I would make it, but I could get something going, right? Trump does. He finally warps everything through. Everybody on the left is, I'm not going to take a Trump vaccine at the time, right? I wasn't going to, right? And then what happens? Trump gets out. They own the vaccine. I think this is why I think I didn't want to be president anymore, because I think the president doesn't even make as many decisions. I really don't. I think part of the reason why Trump didn't drain the swamp is because he couldn't. Even JFK said certain tapes that were supposed to be released about his uncle getting assassinated, JFK, weren't, and Trump said he'd release them, and then Trump didn't either. He said it before and got in. So there's got to be something above that really does play a little bit. It's what Putin said, right? The guys come with the black fruit and really say what's going on. And I just think it's tougher when Trump does it,
Speaking of Trump, let's get into the next story. Trump saying about him being a dictator. So this is a setup question from Sean Hannity.
Issue though, because the media has been focused on this and attacking you. Under no circumstances you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
He's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
not
retribution.
I'm gonna be, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not gonna be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one. We're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator.
So that sounds to me like you're going back to the policies when you were president.
That's
all right.
exactly
Take an issue though, because the media.
By the way, I wish you played it before, because when he was saying, if you played a little before the clip, I don't know if you had the clip before.
No, I don't think I have it.
Because you know what he's saying? He's like, you're not going to have them, you're not going to weaponize and go after. Let's see if this is it.
I don't think it is.
And John Kerry wants us to stop doing anything. We can't. We have a country. We have to fire up our factories. Wind is not going to fire up our factories, and it's the most expensive energy. Even solar. I like solar from a concept standpoint, but it's massively expensive. And we can't allow China to build a factory a week, and we do nothing. They build about. We should be thinking about nuclear.
People hate his voice and hate him, and I get it. He is entertaining how he talks. Like, there's something about it that it's the same old stuff. Like in presidential, you kind of got to repeat yourself a lot. I've noticed, more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not it. So because before that, you know what part I'm talking about, right?
I'm not sure.
So before that, I'll paraphrase it. He's like, you're not going to use your power to go after them, basically. Oh, like they are to me, like they're doing to me. And he cuts him off and says that before.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't? It's almost worth watching because he kind of makes a point. I actually like that he said that. You know what I mean? Because, and by the way, I think Trump's 100% innocent in the most thing? No, not at all. I don't think anybody is, okay? I think you can get anybody on anything, anytime. I don't even know what the deal is about why everybody leaves with classified documents. Maybe I'll find out when I'm president. Like, it's just really fun to take classified documents, or they put them in your car. I don't know about that, but like Biden's taking them, Trump's taking them, like, and then these are like very like, who knows, man? Like, does it say where the aliens are? Because they already released that. Like, what else is in these documents? What are we hiding?
Man, I don't know. At this point, it seems that everybody takes documents. Not only that, and
which doesn't make it right though. If there's a rule and law, you got to follow.
What harm did it cause with Biden taking documents? Because Biden took documents, and with Trump taking documents, what harm did it cause?
Yeah, nothing. I guess. Listen. I don't even know why they have the rule. They can get rid of the rule if nobody's going to follow it.
So we're going to touch on the story real quick. It's not in our timelines, but I think it's worth touching on. So everybody knows Alex Jones is banned, right, from everywhere. And when Elon Musk came back, he decided he made a decision to not bring back Alex Jones. Do you remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
So did you hear about this? That Tucker Carlson tonight has released an Alex Jones interview. Now, people are now Alex Jones is trending. Tristan Tate, Alex Jones should be allowed to speak. Check this out. Advertisers that would have freaked out have gone anyway. Gonna have to around and get Elon to unban Alex Jones. Will consider. In general, since this platform aspires to be the global town square, permanent ban should be extremely rare. Also, if he does say something false on this platform, the community notes will correct him, whereas that would not be the case elsewhere. And then let's see.
It's old.
And it's an image, so I can't see it. But basically, bring back Alex Jones.
Alex Jones is coming back. That's what it means.
Alex Jones should be unbanned.
Coming back to Twitter.
Where is it?
I don't even know Alex Jones. I only listen to him from you guys.
Should Alex Jones be unbanned? Yes.
Oh, I know that guy. Do you know Ian?
Yeah, I see his stuff a lot. Alex Jones is about to get unbanned. Look, and then Elon Musk says, I guess a lot of people want him unbanned.
Wow.
So it's seeming like Alex Jones is now going to be coming back to X, which I don't know. We'll see. We don't know. We'll see if he keeps an open mind, if Elon Musk keeps an open mind. I understand why people don't like Alex Jones
right now.
But it seems like, man, that is something that actually might happen. And to be honest, I think the media has done far worse than what Alex Jones has done, and they're free to say whatever it is that they like.
Dude,
I want to get into.
Yes, on Twitter live right here.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool.
So I want to get into this next story, which is, let's see.
Yo, I got to figure out a way I can put it on here too, as well.
So I want to get into this next story, which is, I think is very interesting because a lot of people are talking about this, and I think it's something that is honestly should be talked about, and that is this. Lefty Bill Maher admits school indoctrinate kids to hate America. So Bill Maher endorses Trump's view that American students are being taught to hate their country, particularly in the light of pro-Hamas demonstrations. Maher criticizes progressives for demonstrating for Hamas, okay, and the indoctrination of students. He also discusses Chuck Schumer's speech on anti-Semitism and the generational split within the Democratic Party on the Israel-Palestine issue. Bill Maher agreed with President Trump's statement about schools teaching kids to hate America. He says under his administration, his next one, schools will teach students to love their country and not to hate their country like they're taught now, Maher said of Trump. I've got to say, this one doesn't bother me so much because I think that this is what I've seen. Kids demonstrating, these progressives demonstrating for Hamas, the most illiberal people in the world, that, oh, good, we're going to give America its comeuppance, asshole America. This is, they kind of have been indoctrinated this way. And Senator Chuck Schumer made a speech this week. He said, anti-Semitism is a 5-alarm fire that must be extinguished. This is the highest ranking Jewish politician we've ever had in this country. So we've got Bill Maher agreeing with Donald Trump on something. But honestly, I'm going to make a statement right here. I usually pass the baton on to you to comment about this, but I want to comment about this first. Honestly, this is what I think. This is an America story. This is not a Trump story. This is not a Bill Maher story. This is not a Republican story. This is not a Democrat story. This is an America story. Jeff, on a scale from 1 to 10, how proud of you? How much are you proud of America?
You know, it's funny. We keep going to Tom McDonald songs, but there's one where he says in it, and I don't know if you know the thing, you all hate America or whatever. I forget the lyrics. You know what lyrics I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What song is that? I think it's Fake Woke.
I forget. Yeah.
I'll look it up, but that's kind of how I feel. To summarize it. Listen, I love America. I love what it started on. People are still fighting to get in this country because of the freedom of capitalism we have. But I will say this. I was listening to Andrew Tate talking today about the West, right? And what we've become as a nation. It's rotting from the inside. Listen, I was a teacher. I was a substitute teacher. I can 100% agree. We should bring Andy Lizio on. Andy Lizio turned to me and said, I can't believe they're making me teach this stuff. I got to show CNN. I'm going to spin it this way. Right. But he was like, I got to teach, like, basically we were indoctrinating kids. That's what it was, of that America was bad and Christopher Columbus wasn't good and all that. Dude, I was living in that all the time. We had to go watch, on how people were bullied by being trans for like gay pride month or whatever in school. And I had to sit in the whole documentary and a thing and watch that, you know?
Yeah. So what I think is,
which, by the way, I don't think gay people should get bullied. That's not my point.
Let me go back to the original question, because I asked you a question. You didn't answer it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how proud of you are of America?
I don't know, like 7.
A 7. Okay. What do you think you get it to a 10?
Me as president.
Can you unpack that? What would you do?
So I believe what America's suffering from is family values and really yielding the country to God, which was founded on. And I believe that it takes someone who can be a voice, who can't tick anybody off, but inspire others always, but always condemn evil. And there is evil. And there's a lot of people, what Elon Musk was saying, that people pretend to be doing good, like what the Democratic Party and Republican Party have done time and time again. They pretend to do all this stuff and go fight other people's battles. With Nikki Haley, we'll get into that. And not even like Vivek's made it known, but this has happened time and time again. And they're spending money. We're going bigger in debt. We're paying the tax dollars to fund politician pot. And we all know it. And nobody's happy. Nobody knows what to do about it. And everybody like a Vivek or a Trump, when you do have an outsider coming in, because they both are outsiders, they get silenced and down, and we go to same old. And it's sickening. And I believe, what's his name said it, Robert Kiyosaki said, the worst case, this will be, at best case, this will be a depression. At worst case, it'll be a civil war. Because what's going on right now is a big uprising, and they're feeding both flames to make it feel like we're more divided than we really are. I just walked in Midtown Miami. I'm sure you walked and went to the store and went gas, and you don't feel the division. It's only what is being marketed to us of why Israel, Hamas, Palestine is being marketed to us to divide it. We don't even have a foot on our soil, and yet we're commenting about it every single time. It's war. It's evil. There's evil out there in the world when it happens. The fact that now people are standing up for evil, and the fact that people are taking sides and stuff that like is not beneficial for America is not. And then we're just sticking our nose like America's done time and time again all the time, you know? So
I agree. You mentioned some things, and I think your answer was like purposely presidential. I'm just going to go off some of the things that I agree that I think, and I'm going to add to the list. Listen, how proud I am of America? I'm at a 5. I love the country. I love the place I'm in. It's my home country. I love it. I love the fact that we have freedom here, but our freedom is being encroached on every single moment. So I agree with you. You say restore family values, number 1. Yeah, let's do that. How do we do that? Restoring family values. We need to start preaching about the health of a family and the health of a mother and a father raising their children. We don't do that anymore. We talk about things that are against families, things that are not going to be causing families anymore. We talk about transgender issues, LGBTQ issues, and all those issues. Unfortunate, and I don't have anything against gay, lesbian, transgenders. It's just unfortunate that they don't create families. We all know this, and it's an uncomfortable topic.
I will stand on this. I really don't, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I personally, this is my personal belief. I don't believe people are born gay. I really don't. I do believe it's a choice. Okay. I'll say this right now. These are my beliefs. And because of that, I do believe anybody who is in this point, and because I've never spoken my beliefs out, and I remember people doing it, and I just want to be clear on this, that's what I believe. And I believe that it's a cry for attention and love and significance like people need at any level, to such an umpteen degree that people are now going, how can I get more attention? Okay. And I'm with you that all those things that are not godly principles don't lead to raising families, right? We're demasculating men in certain ways of that. We're empowering women. We're changing the balance. This has all happened. So there's less men as leaders, and there's more women who are either working for themselves or becoming sex workers, whichever one you want to look at the point. And it's making such an imbalance of what's making America, made America, America, you know?
Well, yeah. And I acknowledge the reason why you wanted to take hold of that, but going back to, and listen, I'm a strong Jesus guy, right? I'm a strong believer in the Lord. I'm viewing this through the lens of not even looking at it with the Lord, because if I talk about it with the Lord, it's going to sound like people are going to be dismissive of me and be like, that's just because he's a Jesus guy, the reason why I believe these things. I'm just talking about pure logic. However, having said that, my beliefs come from believing in God and believing in Jesus and believing that there is somebody who is going to hold us accountable. He created us. We're going somewhere, all of us, every single one of us, whether we like it or not. There is a destination. We are going somewhere, and we have the choice of where we're going. So restoring family values, I think what is happening is, like you mentioned, with the gay, lesbian, and trans community, what's happening is now it's becoming more of a cry for attention, a cry for love, and it's separating families. Nothing against those people. I have a lot of friends who are gay, lesbian. It's just, and they know this as well. They can't create families. So now they have to create an indoctrination of other people. So that is becoming kind of the forefront right now of our political spectrum. And it is crazy to me. So we need to be able to restore family values when it comes to, hey, listen, mom and dad, are they okay? Are they talking? Are they healthy? Are they taking care of the children? Are the children healthy? Do they have a community? Are they talking to each other? Do they hang out? Do they eat dinner together? What's going on? What do they believe? Are they a strong family unit? There's no focus on that anymore. We need to become strong again as a nation. We need to protect our borders. What does that mean? We need people perceive us as weak. They can come into our country and just do whatever the hell they want right now. And Trump, unfortunately, because Trump is so crazy, he made this whole thing about protecting the borders crazy that it caused Kamala Harris and Biden to do nothing for the first 3 years. And they realized, oh shit, this is really bad. We need to stop this. And they started building the wall again. We need to just protect our borders.
Because here's the thing. I personally believe, because they're trying to thwart the election and give some a license to, because here's the thing. If I did not come in this country and I want to come in this country, and all of a sudden I had Kamala or Biden say, hey, come in, which they did. Come, the borders will be open. And I came in the nation, okay? And I came in here. And I turned on the news, and they translate the news that this other guy, Trump, wants to build a wall. And Kamala, everything, led the Biden, and this is why I'm here, of sanctuary cities, whatever, right? From a country. I'm in America. And I've been in a third world country, and I've been in here. There is a big difference, okay? Now I can make an earning wage, whatever it is. And then they turn around and say, hey, we'll give you papers, but you have to vote basically for us. You're basically bringing in people to vote. I would vote. Like, I would 100% vote. These people brought me to America. I get it, right? 100%. That's why I could see how, like, everybody's like, how the Hispanic vote goes to the Democrats and all this stuff too, because, it's the culture of where, America is a nation of immigration. It's funny with all this Israel-Palestine stuff of this was our land and everything, right? And I'm like, America, by the way, we took this from like Indian people. Like, imagine if imagine if all of a sudden there were more Indian people and we were surrounded with, in Mexico and Canada, was all these Indian tribes, and it got moved away. Okay. And America was America. You know where I'm going with this, right?
I do know. And I always think when you say this, I think you always miss the point. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say that is because it doesn't matter about the land. I know you're talking about the land and like everybody's got a land. It doesn't matter. It could be areas of space. It doesn't matter. Human beings are tribal. What that means is if I feel safe around you and you feel safe around your neighbor and your neighbor feels safe around that other neighbor, we're going to protect that tribe. And we're going to say, okay, we want to be protected. We're going to take this area of whatever it is. Doesn't matter if it's land. It doesn't matter if it's space in the air. It doesn't matter if it's a cloud. We're tribal. And the only reasoning behind that, it has nothing to do with land. It has to do with safety and certainty. Human beings need a sense of that, and they need to feel that we are safe in the tribe that we feel of. You went down to Miami, right? That's part of your tribe. You say, oh, you come back to Connecticut. This is not part of my tribe. I can't do this. It's not who I am, right? You go down to Miami. You're like, this is part of my tribe. This is who I am, right?
Midtown more so. I really like Midtown, right? I was
right, like Midtown. And I agree with you. I agree 100%. I love Midtown.
I love right where I am. This is my tribe. It's funny because I was thinking about that as I was driving out of crazy Brickell. Nothing against Brickell. Brickell's like New York, the whole thing. And I'm in peaceful little Midtown. Even when I got here, I was like, oh, this is home. And it was funny. There was a song when I came back in, Back Where I Belong, played like on my iPhone when I pulled in here, when I was coming in from Columbia to meet Tony Delgado for a week, right? For the Miami meetup, one of the Miami meetups we did. But my point of saying that was when I was coming in, I was thinking of Darren, who I sent you the picture that he owns the kids' hair salon down here. He lives in my building, right? Shout out to Darren. And I was and he's very tribal too. And me and him were building a bond how we love Midtown, right? So if anything came on, we're already, and it's funny that you say that because I was thinking of that. I was like, well, and then I'm walking around and the guy who was at the barbershop who wanted to rent out half for me to build the podcast, he likes Patrick David. So I'm a hero to him because I go to all that. Hey, how you doing? We're tribal. Now I got our tribe. I got the Albanian, Armenian guy down at the barbershop. I got Darren. I got me, right? We all love Midtown. Anyway. That's all I got to say about that. But no, my point is saying the land wasn't the land. My point is saying how stupid it was, really. And you're right. You actually put that in a very good way. We are tribal. That makes sense. I think the land whole argument's stupid. The fact that people don't even know land, they're looking at Google things that have talking points on Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse is ridiculous to me.
So I want to get into a lighter story, and that is that our girl.
What was the last story we were just on? I feel like it's
we're going all over the place. I think it was Bill Maher talking about the last point I want to make is unashamed leadership is what will restore pride in America. And that is, I'm not ashamed to look at myself in the mirror as president, as a member of Congress, and say, I did something wrong. I'm going to make it right. And not only that, is I'm going to make it better. I'm going to make the people around me better because I'm going to get better. This is one thing that Elon Musk does very well. He's not ashamed to speak his mind and what he believes, right? Go fuck yourself, right? I hope that's clear, right? You know where he stands. Right now, we have no idea where people stand. So that's one thing.
One thing I love
is becoming smart again. Protecting our borders and unashamed leadership that will help restore. And there's other things as well. By the way, post it in the comments below if you guys can think of any other things that would help restore the pride of being an American. And I'm not talking about gay pride. I'm talking about being proud to be an American, just like the song goes.
Yeah, and by the way, the one thing I will say about Elon Musk, if you did bring that up, but I'm saying where he stands, he, unlike Trump, which it's funny because Patrick and David was on, I forget whose podcast. Oh, it was the Nelk Boys. And he said that he thinks Trump's VP will be Tucker because Tucker and Elon are close and Trump needs Elon and Elon doesn't know who he's going to back, right? And it makes sense strategic alliances, right? And that's why. And the Nelk Boys, what's the kids' names? What's the Kyle was just like, which those guys have funny pranks. I'll share them to you and Sean. I went through some of them. They're pretty cool kids.
There's some boys, yeah.
But when they're talking to PBD, and Kyle was basically like, "That's crazy, man, Trump," and he talked about the alliances. And it's funny, the difference between Trump and Elon, and there are big differences, even though you can see the similarities. They both have a few money, et cetera, is Trump, well, he has a very hard time to apologize, right? Like, no matter what, it's that. We know it to a fault. Where Elon, and I'll give Elon credit because I felt like he could have went in there. He apologized for the tweet he actually like straight up apologized before he said F you to Bob Iger.
Yeah, because he understands how things can be perceived and his ego isn't as inflated as Trump's is. All right, let's get into the next story. Next story is Taylor Swift. She wins person of the year.
Sorry, that's your line. You usually do that. Is that really a picture of her?
That is Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift winning person of the year. So Taylor Swift saying, "Hey, Sam Lansky has such a wondrous way with words, and I've loved reading his pieces for over a decade. If you've ever been around him, you know he's the best type of person, curious, interested, hilarious, intriguing, and intrigued. I have trust issues," and she spelt it like a tweenager, "when it comes to interviews, but I couldn't be happier that I did this one with him. I was blown away to see quotes from people I adore and admire like Stevie Nicks, Greta Gerwig, Shonda Rhimes, Phoebe Bridgers, Natalie Maines, Kenny Chesney, and Lucian Grange. I was so happy he spoke to fans, Madison McCall, who were so eloquent, loyal, and kind. I'm really reflecting on this year and all the years that led up to it. Can't say thank you enough times." So this is person of the year. She's also got, I think, a couple other ones. People are talking about her trust issues. She's got this cover, and then she's got this one with her cat right around here. So, Taylor Swift. I remember when Taylor first came out, and she was writing Picture to Burn, Teardrops on My Guitar.
Dude, I saw her.
Our song.
Were you there when we saw Taylor Swift at was that Rascal Flatts, or did I go without you? It was Rascal Flatts were the title, and Taylor Swift opened for them.
I don't think I saw Taylor.
I did, and I was making fun of Teardrops on My Guitar because they play that song all the time. That's probably my least favorite Taylor Swift song. Probably, and it's funny because I was doing a coaching session with somebody the other day. They put one person they admired was Eva Longoria, one person they despised. You guessed it.
Well, so this is what I think. I think Taylor Swift right now has, especially this past year, has done something amazing with marketing. Now, let me say this. I used to really like Taylor's music. Like, it was a huge guilty pleasure. I would listen to it and I'd be like,
I still will say I like Taylor Swift's music.
Her first like 3 or 4 albums, I was like, damn, there's some bangers on this.
Songs aren't like they're different, but they're still pretty catchy.
She's a great songwriter. She just is. Even if you don't like her music, she just is. And this is coming from a diehard metal fan, right? It's hard for me to admit these things, but she's got great music.
She had a great line, and I always think of it all the time. And it's it's in Story of Us. It's what's the line? I never heard silence quite this loud.
Yeah, she's got great lines. She's got great songwriters.
I think of that every time I like a girl and we can't say anything, we're mad at each other. And it's like you can hear everything. I remember sitting in the car of the last enemy that I chose for this next win. And they were so quiet. She said, "Don't talk to me." We're sitting there. There's a video on my Instagram story of me doing it, and I didn't even, because I could just hear whatever music was playing, the sound, and I could hear like us both wanting to say something, saying nothing. And we're looking at an Audi dealership. It's in my story somewhere. I still watch.
Wait, you videotaped this? You put it on your Instagram?
On my story, so I'd always remember this moment. Yep.
Wait, so you did it while girl's pissed. You put it on your Instagram stories.
And she's not in the picture. I just remember thinking in that moment, and I put so many thoughts. And I'm filming. We're in North Miami. I'm filming the Audi dealership on it. I can show it to you. I mean, this needs nothing to it.
The point is this girl's pissed. She's like, I don't want to talk. And you're like, I'm just going to record this moment. Is that what you did?
Dude, it was so hard. I did not say one word the whole ride down.
And as you guys have probably realized throughout 10 episodes of the show, it's very hard for Jeff not to say.
So I had to put my feelings out there. If anybody has followed me on Instagram,
you don't have to put your feelings out there, Jeff.
But I wanted to.
Right, exactly. You wanted to.
So I wanted to, and I wanted to because it felt better as soon as I did. Because I always want to remember that moment. Did you get the chapter 4 in Choose Your Enemies Wisely yet?
I have no. I just started
that moment. There's a part where he talks about it, explains that exact same reason why I did that is the same reason why.
Because your ego.
It's not because of ego. It's because of, it's really not though. It's because something about us, okay? And I don't know, maybe you don't need this, but I think you do too. I think everybody has this in them. I needed something to go back whenever I didn't want enough and watch again to remember how I felt then, so it would make me try harder. And I think it's also, how PBD will ask people when their birthday is and go, interesting, right? So I think there's some correlation to that. I don't know what the whole deal is, but for me, I'm very easily forgiving. Even though I get very angry, I tend to let a lot of things slide, right? I don't hate anybody. I had no list to hate anybody's. And there's a lot of people who are born in certain times of the year and they're like, I hate that person, right? When people say, I hate Trump or I hate Biden, I go to my father-in-law's house and his next door neighbor has a flag that says lock him up, and it's a silhouette of Trump. If I hated somebody, if I hated Adolf Hitler, I would not put a flag of him outside, right? Trump to these people is Adolf Hitler, but they're putting a flag of them outside, lock him up with the silhouette of Trump's, hair and his nose and things of that nature. But people are like, oh my God, I hate him. I hate him so much.
And for me, I just tend to forgive people easily. I hate them, and I lock it like as a memory of like, oh my God, they hurt me. Now I want to get to this better point and being a better version of myself. But it's just, I don't know. I tend to not hold it as a grudge. And I think some people do. And I think the greats do. I honestly do think the greats do. But I also think for me is I remember it, but I also I think about what people are going through and the reason why they've inflicted that pain on me. People are inflicting pain on me because of the pain that they're feeling. And would I do the same thing in their situation? Probably, maybe. Like, I'm no better than them. We're all dirt in the end when we die. So, like, why am I striving to destroy this person? And I'm not saying that it's not good to have an enemy, because it's good to have something to go up against. Like in business, when I think of like the other companies that are rivaling against me, I'm like, those motherfuckers are not going to get me, right? But at the same time, I'm like, let me just focus on myself and how I can be better. That's me, which is why one of the reasons why I want to read the book is because maybe I need to die.
Yeah, you got to read it. There's chapter 4, not to spoil it. There's a part, Patrick and David's car gets repossessed. He's driving a Ford Focus with roll-up windows. It reminded me so much similar story. Like, I've had so many similar, and I know I'm a matcher, but there's a lot of similar stories.
Everything's about me.
No, I'm just saying I have a lot of the same stories of I was done the crazy things. And you know this, you watched me do it. Everybody's watched me go out there and make declarations like, why would just say that? And I say it because I need someone to tell me I can't do it, and then I'll do it. Like, it's what I need. I know I need that. Okay. That's how I've always operated. And it's funny. I just did thank you, forgive me, I love you, I need you thing. So I would get the chip off my shoulder with one of the people, the hui ha. It's something that was from, I forget what it is. It's like some self-cleansing thing, right? It was really good, actually. But Patrick and David tells a story where he drives 6 hours of Ford Focus to the guy. And, we were in insurance and all what we did with insurance. One of the top guys at the thing was insurance. And Patrick says in the book, he wasn't a good leader. He didn't treat his people good. Patrick and David talks about he's tribal and wanting to treat people better and everything. And listen, I pictured I don't even want to say the guy here because we're live, but I pictured like one of the guys in insurance that you were on a call with. I pictured that guy when he was telling he was going to go tell the guy. And this guy was way more successful than him and had a whole firm and everything. And Patrick went up to him, watched him speak at the whole thing, and went up and found him. But the guy had security around him and basically said, I will build a firm bigger than you. I'll be a better leader than you. I'm going to do all this. Just said it right to the guy. And the guy turned to him and said, you will never be the leader on my, you'll never do this. You'll never do that. And then Patrick said, thank you. I drove 6 hours just to hear those words. I need to hear those, and left. And it reminded me of exactly something that I would do.
Yeah, I know. I agree. And here's the funny thing is we're talking all about this stuff, but this has to tie in with Taylor Swift. So Taylor, part of the reason why she has built her career so much is she built her career on having these certain people that she's gone against in all of her songs, all these guys that have broken her heart, right? How many albums has she released? 10 albums, 12 albums. And like every single other song is about some certain guy. It's about Harry Styles. It's about Jake Gyllenhaal. It's about all these different guys, right? And now everybody's waiting for the Travis Kelce song to come out, right? What song is that going to look like? Like, what is it going to be called? Like, Playing the Field, what is the song going to be called? Like everybody's like thinking about that, which, for her, that's a great marketing aspect. But at the same point, I mean, listen, that has got to be a way of a stressful point of putting your love.
She ever wants to get married or no?
Well, this is the reason why I bring it up, because she might want to be married, but she has estimated a net worth of $1.1 billion as of October 2023 per Bloomberg. Swift made more than $780 million in the U.S. leg of her 2023 The Eras Tour, according to an estimate by Forbes. So what does this mean? She was worth about 400 million, and then she went, fuck it, I'm putting on the greatest show known to mankind. And she did. And she gained almost $1 billion worth of net income. Dude, good for her. Like, applause to her. This is one thing that I actually agree that as far as a marketing aspect, Taylor Swift could be woman of the year. Having said that, there's a lot of other people that are probably more qualified to add a lot more significant value. But as far as marketing and entertainment value, yeah, I mean, Taylor Swift took the cake. Like, she really did.
I'm glad it was her. Like, it's huge relief. Like, who did it? Forbes, Time, who made the list?
Time.
By the way, I know this sounds silly. Influencer podcast is coming out with a press company. The fact that Time has branded themselves to be it and say what it is, I'm so happy. At least we got somebody who's at least the same gender who's actually had a thing, because we had, I forget who did Men of the Year or Women of the Year with Kylie Jenner or somebody like that.
Oh, what was it? GQ? GQ did it. I used to read GQ. I don't read it anymore. This is one thing. I'm sure you never heard about this. Have you ever heard about, do you know what Anton LaVey is? Okay, so he is one of the founders of the Church of Satan, and he wrote the Satanic Bible, I believe. So here's a crazy conspiracy theory. I know how much we love these here on the J&J podcast, but who does this girl look like?
Or Taylor Swift.
Right? But that is Anton LaVey's daughter, Zena LaVey. So this is an article saying, is Taylor Swift a clone of celebrity Satan? Is Zena LaVey? Nah, but the conspiracy theory is fun. So basically, and I don't know if, let's see, that's not posting right now, but there's some posts and there's some pictures of, if you look at some of the pictures of, let's see, not news, let's go to images right here. Okay, yeah, these are like some of the comparisons that people give to her. Looks similar.
I definitely say that.
Which is pretty crazy. Now, obviously, Zena LaVey is, I believe she was born in 1970. Taylor Swift was born, I think she's a little younger than me. 1988, I think she was born. But anyway, this went crazy for a little while. People like on TikTok were like sharing it and like, oh my God, Taylor Swift is really Satanist. Check this out. And they showed all the videos of.
I mean, there's the whole thing. How does someone get so popular, right? You sell your soul to the devil, and then
well, that's another thing. That's the reason why people were saying that. Oh, she sold her soul. She sold her soul to the devil, and that's the reason why she's worth $1 billion right now.
Which I would do. Do you think, as long as they're good, do you think there's any truth to that?
I think there is truth to Satan tempting people. Remember, Satan, when he first talked to the Lord, when he first talked to Jesus, what did he do? He brought him up above everything and said, I will give you all of this. Remember? Right? So why wouldn't Satan do the same thing with us if we're easily susceptible and if we have a lot of influence? I will give you all of this if you follow me. Right? That's biblical. So who knows? Listen, I never write it off, and honestly, I'll never throw it off as like something that it could be completely fake, because we're all susceptible to.
I asked that. It's Jasenia, who obviously I'm capitalist, more that she's more in the artist stuff. I asked her, and she kind of hinted around like, yeah, no, there's messed up stuff in, like, she's been out in all that. And it's funny, dude, I was out in LA for a little bit and I was around all these people, and it just felt like, I know I give Connecticut a hard time. I know I'm giving LA a hard time right now too, but LA, there's some weird spots there, man. There's just some weird people. I feel like, I don't know. It feels weird. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of people who are just completely engulfed in the dark side. Not to quote the Star Wars, but there are people who are engrossed into evil. We all know that evil exists. Evil, in a logical form, is destruction.
We all know that evil exists. Does evil know evil exists, or does evil think that good is evil?
People who do evil are self-aware of what they're doing, but they justify.
Hamas is self-aware of what they're doing.
Correct, 100%.
I believe to do that level of stuff, you have to be demonically influenced. Like, that's what I believe. Like, all these serial killers,
you justify it based on a belief system. Beliefs are so important. Beliefs are like a table with table legs, right? If you have a belief and then you have table legs that support that belief, if you've got 4 table legs, then it's going to support that belief even more. So if your belief is this person, this group of people have to die because they killed my family, they took my land, they believe in and this type of God is not my God, and they are a threat to me, then it reinforces your belief and you justify evil actions. I think really what happens with a lot of people is evil is the frog that is put in water and is slowly turned up. And by the point you're actually fully into evil, the heat has increased so much that you're boiling to death and that you're dying. But let's go into the next story. I want to talk about this one because you haven't talked about this. This story is insane. So, Virginia house explodes in Arlington as police approach a home to execute a warrant. Shots were fired as the officers tried to enter the home just before the explosion. No word yet on injuries or casualties. So check this out. Police, they're parked outside. What's that?
How did they get footage of all this?
Somebody filmed it.
I know, but like I always do. Hope everybody's okay, man.
All the car alarms going off.
Holy fucking shit! Get the fuck out of here!
Dude, I'm not gonna. That's out of the movie. Look at this.
Yeah, I hope everybody's okay, man. Come on, man. Where was this in?
This was in Virginia. So where is?
Wow, look at that. Dude, everybody likes in movies they always put explosions, and it's just a little different when it's real life, you know.
It is, and now there was a witness who talked about it, and now everybody's saying he's a Fed because of how he talked about it. Oh, let me see. Let's see. But the guy is talking about it. He's smiling the whole entire time. It was worth checking out. But apparently what happened is the police were coming to go raise this guy's house and he was shooting at them, and then he left through the back and then had his house wired. And as soon as the cops came in, he blew up his own building. Now, I don't know who died, who didn't die.
Why were they raiding? What was the reason they were raiding the house? Drugs?
That's the crazy thing is like people are trying to figure all this out. So let's check out this Washington Post story, because this is like the fact that all this happened to me is still insane. And like it got in the news and then it died down. So I want to dive into it. So Washington Post is talking about Arlington man whose house exploded had history of rambling lawsuits. James Yu, 56, had a comparative divorce and a history of alcoholism, according to legal filings. Before an explosion leveled James Wu's 2-story duplex in Arlington County, Virginia, during a police standoff on Monday night, before the dwelling erupted in a fireball, apparently with Yu inside, the 56-year-old homeowner had gone through a contentious divorce, had a history of alcohol abuse, rambling lawsuits, and had repeatedly complained to the FBI to no avail that he was a fraud victim, according to authorities and court records. Yu, who described himself in some of his many court cases as a former security specialist for telecommunications companies, was rarely seen around his neighborhood in the county's Bluemont area, residents said. Then, late at Monday afternoon, someone began firing projectiles from a flare-type gun in the 800 block of the North Burlington Street. Police said when officers arrived at Yu's home at about 5 p.m., they were met with gunfire and a barricade situation ensued. Shortly before 8:30 p.m., this means from 5 p.m. to 8:30, cops were coming to the house. So they had almost 3 hours, a little bit more than 3 hours to plan this. An enormous blast from the inside of the home, heard for miles around, reduced the place to splinters and rain debris all over the block. Police said a person's remains later found in the rubble are presumed to be used. They said no one else was seriously hurt and that the cause of the explosion has not been determined. Neighbors said you recently seemed to be getting ready to move out. Bags were piled up atop his garage roof. They said you almost never interact with others on the block. In fact, they said they rarely set eyes on him. If you saw a human in that house, it would be a miracle. Nobody in the neighborhood really knew him. So I think the best thing to learn after this story is anybody who's a weird neighbor is somebody that might be blowing up their house.
Yeah, I mean, that also may be someone, and it's sad because anybody dying, I still, no matter where they're at, I still think it's sad. I always find it that way. And especially like lawsuits, the whole life, divorced, not living for much, drinking, like you just put yourself inside. Anybody's gonna blow up the house and blow up themselves in it. It's just sad, man. Any day. Because I know I see people in that all the time, and it's crazy because like it's funny because you'll tell me all stories of people short selling or selling their house fast, and like with that I could see a James Wu unfortunately selling his house fast to go somewhere.
Yeah, this had nothing to do with real estate. This had everything to do with the fact that the guy was looking to trying to get the attention of the FBI. It sounded like this guy really wanted love. He needed attention, and he felt threatened, backed into a corner, and I don't know what happened. I can't find the video, but apparently this guy came out and started saying different things in the interview that people were starting to, and maybe they took it down, but people were like, this guy sounds like a Fed. Now, there's a whole new thing of where whenever a guy comes out in the news and says, this guy sounds like a Fed, but I think it's one of those things that people are like now, oh my God, what is going on? Because this guy keeps on saying these things. Let's see. See if I can find it. Doesn't look like I can. They took it down. But the guy was basically stating he was a witness, but he was stating all the things that had happened in like professional manners. And then when he was realizing when he was saying what happened, he was like, I mean, like, I don't know. And honestly, I watched it. I wish we could play it. I can't find it. It's pretty crazy. This is some breaking news right here. Maybe we want to talk about this because it is breaking news. I think we should talk about it because we have a show and I want to talk about it. Maybe we'll talk about it.
Remind me of Mario from Twitter right there. We got breaking news here right now.
I don't talk like that at all.
He would always do that. He'd always stop everybody talking. No, he stopped everybody. Yeah, shoot, I have to. This is a long day. We didn't get to. I still have to go to the airport tonight.
You have to go to the airport? How come?
Someone's coming in this week through now again.
Hunter Biden is indicted on tax charges 8 minutes ago. What's happened?
Wow.
The Justice Department charged President Biden's son after a long-running and wide-ranging investigation with substantial political repercussions. Hunter Biden was indicted late Thursday on 9 federal counts, accusing him of evading federal tax on millions of dollars he has made in his work with foreign companies. A grand jury in the Central District of California charged Mr. Biden with 3 counts of each of evasion of tax assessment, failure to file and pay taxes, and filing a false or fraudulent tax return, according to the 56-page indictment. The indictment stems from a special counsel investigation of Mr. Biden and is the second against him this year. Mr. Biden engaged in a 4-year scheme to not pay at least $1.4 million in self-assessed federal taxes he owed for tax years 2016 through 2019. Wrote special counsel. The charges come after Mr. Biden had appeared this summer to be on the verge of a plea deal that would not have led him to jail time in the view of the lawyer at the time, would have granted him immunity for potential crimes stemming from his business dealings, but the deal collapsed at the last minute. In September, he was indicted on separate charges stemming from his failure to acknowledge his drug use when he purchased a handgun in 2018. You think anything's going to happen, Hunter?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of. At the end of the day, dude, I feel like it's so sad again, because what they're doing after Trump, then people are going to do this. Listen, President Biden has a whole troubled family, and he's, I believe, a little bit troubled himself. I think the least out of his family, but I think he's troubled too. And I mean, yeah, it's just at the end of the day, it's sad, and I think it's like 100%. Like, there's so much bad stuff. The guy was druggy. He's exactly what it is. I mean, it's no shock that he didn't file his taxes when anything was in there. It's no shock that, and I didn't want to say good that they're going after him. Like, it's not even like that. Like, everybody should be held accountable to a point. But like at the end of the day, man, if you look at that guy and look at some of the videos, like this is just another reason for him to be suicidal too. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think we got a challenge going on when it comes to Hunter Biden. I think Hunter Biden is obviously a troubled kid, and I think Biden, obviously, he's troubled. He's lost right now. He doesn't even know where he is. And it's almost kind of sad, everything that's going on at the moment. And the unfortunate thing is, I think what is happening is people are not.
Is Nikki Haley, who thinks the government.
I'm running up the next story. Is
Hunter Biden reminds me of from the Wedding Crashers, the song. Will that make you love me? Like it reminds me of that thing with the painting. That's really what it reminds me of. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Dude, we need to get this trending 100%. What's the guy's name? Let's look at this. Yes.
It was Wedding Crashers. I don't know what his name was.
I don't know what his name was.
That was a great movie, by the way.
This is Hunter Biden right here.
Yeah. Painting, right? Because wasn't Hunter Biden a painter too?
Yeah, he was.
So
Todd's painting. His name is Todd.
Did I never say this before to you or no?
I made you a painting.
Did I ever say this to you before or no?
I've never heard this. No.
Yeah, because I've said it before. I just didn't say it to you. I've said that many times.
Man. So my personal belief is if anything happens with Hunter Biden, it's going to be swept underneath the rug. Not much is going to happen to President Biden, which I think is a shame because I think if this was happening to Donald Trump and it was Donald Trump Jr., they would be going berserk after him.
100%. Yeah, but by the way, one thing I want to say about Donald Trump, you can say whatever you want and everything. All his daughter, his sons, for anybody out of everything, like, you know, Trump who's Trump. His family all seems like pretty stand up. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
all right, let's get into the next story. I want to talk about this real quick, and that is Vivek on the last GOP debate. I want to talk about the GOP debate and the takeaway.
I watched it last night when I came home. I watched it and I sent you a video at like 3 a.m. in the morning.
Yes, I saw, and I was watching some of it as well. So let's get right into it. So this is when Vivek calls out Nikki Haley. Let's watch this real quick.
At the first debate, she said that only a woman can get this job done. That's what she said. After the third debate, when I criticized Ronna McDaniel after 5 failed years of leadership of this party and criticized Nikki for her corrupt foreign dealings as a military contractor, she said that I have a woman problem. Nikki, I don't have a woman problem. You have a corruption problem. And I think that that's what people need to know. Nikki is corrupt. This is a woman who will send your kids to die so she can buy a bigger house. This is the problem. Using identity politics more effectively than Kamala Harris is a form of intellectual fraud. And it actually needs to end. There's our donor puppet masters wielding their puppet right up here tonight. This is how this game is played. The puppet masters put up their puppet, and I reject the use of identity politics in this party. It has been a cancer coming from the left, and I'm sick and tired of the double standards the people of this country are too. Having 2 X chromosomes does not immunize you from criticism.
Thank you, sir.
Dude, he's right. That's the crazy thing. Is like
I wish we could watch. Go ahead. All 10 clips from it. I believe the winner, even though they say it, and listen, it's crazy because I watched CNN after this. They're pushing Nikki Haley. Poor Nikki Haley. She's championing herself well. Like the fact that the liberal media is behind Nikki Haley, like really worries me. And the fact, and then Trump even said it, she took money from like some, I don't know where it is too anyway. And then she's just like, oh, you're mad. You can play the clip, but she's like, you're mad that the Wall Street Journal people are giving me money and not you. Like, not even like.
This is weird. There's this weird thing that's going on right now with Vivek, and I think it's a similar thing that was happening with Trump, except Vivek is way more polished in how he delivers his message. Great communicator, one of the best communicators I've seen. Very similar to Obama. I think he's better than Obama. because he speaks with passion, where Obama like had a hard time speaking with passion. But Vivek speaks with passion, and he's calling people out. And what's happening right now is we're seeing, I'm going to show another clip, and then I'm going to show what people are saying about Vivek. So Vivek is calling people out, right? He's saying, hey, look, this lady's corrupt. She took money to create wars, and she's killing people to get money. And that's why she's corrupt right now. And then when people are booing, he's saying, yeah, those are her puppet masters who are building her up right now. This is how this game works, and we need to stop this game because people are dying right now. And it's a great point. Whether you're right or left, it's honestly a great point.
Yeah, one thing that Trump did when he ran, he brought up issues that nobody talked about, us getting ripped off in trade. That made everybody blank. One thing Vivek's doing is he's bringing issues up that aren't your typical issues, and he's making them issues. And it's very good. We play this one too.
Something from Chris Christie. We learned three things. We learned three things right there. First of all, Chris Christie also doesn't know what provinces in eastern Ukraine he actually wants us to fight for. Chris, your version of foreign policy experience was closing a bridge from New Jersey to New York. Yeah. So do everybody a favor, just walk yourself off that stage, enjoy a nice meal, and get the hell out of this race. When it comes to Nikki, I think if you're going to actually send your sons and daughters to go die in somebody else's war, you better, excuse me, Chris, I'm speaking, and I'm not done yet.
I haven't heard the time when you aren't
and we're going to be
speaking.
done. So listen up to this, is if these people want to send your sons and daughters to go die in Ukraine, they've been arguing for it for a year. $200 billion of our taxpayer money sent over. Neither of them could even name for you the provinces that they actually want to protect. And this is the people who have been touting their so-called foreign policy experience. It is intellectual fraud. These people are lying to you, the same people who told you about weapons and mass destruction in Iraq to justify that invasion, didn't know the first thing about it, yet they sent thousands of our sons and daughters to go die. The same people who told you the same in Afghanistan, where the Taliban is still in charge 20 years later. $7 trillion of our national debt due to these toxic neocons. You can put lipstick on a Dick Cheney, it is still a fascist neocon.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy.
See that today.
Thank you, Mr.
It's Dick Cheney all over again in this party.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy.
So, by the way, you didn't. If you watch the whole thing, the part where Chris Christie stands up for Nikki Haley, and Nikki Haley
I'm not saying I don't like Chris Christie, but I'm showing that out of respect to Chris Christie. That's embarrassing, like how he sticks up for Nikki Haley.
Oh, listen, Chris Christie should walk himself off the stage, get a meal. It's funny because
dude, it's crazy that he actually said that.
Yeah, and by the way, I think Vivek could be more Obama-like in presidential, but has that likes Trump, so knows how to say stuff his thing, which he almost he needs where he's at in the polls. He can't just ride ahead. He needs to have things, and I think it's ingenious marketing. I think saying that line will get people talking. I think all that, but what to do? It pisses everybody off. Okay, pisses off anybody. I don't think anybody's in Chris Christie's camp. Really,
Arby's, I don't know.
Is obviously getting funded. Like Nikki Haley, I feel like we have, everybody's talking about Vivek being an Obama clone and all this stuff in a clone and taking money from George Soros. My gut feeling is nothing like that with Vivek. Vivek, whatever happened with George Soros taking the money from that, this is why you got to be careful on who you take money from. And this is one of the biggest things that I got from Patrick Ben-David's town hall. Is he said to RF Kennedy, is there anybody you wouldn't take money from? And it was just a big question. And he said, what if Pfizer gave you money? And RFK goes, Pfizer's not giving me money.
I saw that. He was like, they're not giving me money.
But my point in this is very simple, is that it is true. I remember being on a call for a kid, James, gave me a call and he's like, Jeff, you wouldn't take $50K to blow up this guy's brand? I said, no, I would not. I said, no, what he's going to do with the money. I know he's going to do his brand. I don't want to be behind that. But you're telling me you turn on $50,000? I'm like, yeah, I would. And listen, I'd rather take a vow of poverty, be broke on thing than taking money from someone who doesn't have my values and principles in line. And I don't want to be in a position where I need to do that. And luckily, if you do a nice brand and marketing, you don't need to. I do think there's business moves, especially when you get in business, you're around all this money, and even in politics, too, is more corrupt, where you can take money to fund stuff. Dude, I still remember after being on Edward Collins' podcast talking about running for president, gives me a call and goes, dude, we have people who can fund you. Like they do this. They'll fund and get behind you. You got to, and he started explaining the whole game to me, right? If you really want to make that happen. And then it made me like, no, forget that. I want to run like Trump did. Trump did it. He ran on his own money. What's the thing? Vivek exited his company for a couple billion. He's running on his own way, right? If I run for president, if I ever did, it would be that way, you know? It costs $3 billion to run.
Yeah, it's crazy right now. I think it's set up for the game of politics. It just is. One thing to end this story, and I want to get into our final story, which is going to be RFK on gender affirming care. And I know this has been a long podcast, which I love. So real quick, right here, if you look at the headlines, if you search Vivek Ramaswamy, it's Ramaswamy faces backlash over debate performance. Why is Vivek Ramaswamy doubling down on conspiracy theories? Fox News goes absolutely nuclear on court jester Vivek Ramaswamy. Fox News' Ducey says Ramaswamy was embarrassing during fourth debate. Vivek Ramaswamy's debate theatrics disgust Fox News hosts. As the GOP primary narrows, Vivek Ramaswamy mulls a new possibility: defeat. The crazy thing is they're all coming out and saying they hate this guy, they don't like this guy, and he's losing. When he's the only one that's coming out and calling everybody out and saying this is what these people are doing. It's the only one. And everybody else is kind of trying to back up this person and back up that person. And listen, you don't have to like Vivek. I'm not saying you have to like him. But it's weird, if the media is going against him, I'm apt to start wanting to agree with some of the things he's going to say. Because one thing that I learned about the media over the past 8 years is the media is not to be trusted. So whatever the mainstream media is saying for headlines, probably not going to be the truth.
So here's the deal. When I talked, literally as a marketing thing, like one day, actually, but when I talked about running for president as marketing, right, it was 100% little marketing. But where it came from was Patrick, Bet David, I was at the vault 3 years ago, looked in the crowd and said, guys, I know some of you are calling is government. Some of you, we need some of you guys to run. That's what he said, right? Is the point. What's the mountaineer thing? And I remember thinking at that point, and you know me from back in the day and everything, like, you know what? Sonny Bono, Les Brown, all these guys then did it. If it comes that day, I would gladly do that and be one of the outsiders inside, right? Like I would love to try and disrupt, be the underdog, come in, right? Trump did it. Vivek is now doing it. And Vivek, the one thing I'll say about him is he literally is speaking the truth out of anybody I know. Everything I've said, when I said that, I thought, man, there's no way Trump will win again. They're not going to let him win. But if I could just mimic Trump, because Trump's policies were on point. Look at America, where we are. You can not like it. If I could, mimic his policies and run everything for it, then maybe possibly those same principles could win in, and I could do it without, calling everybody an idiot, right? And so Vivek is running that same exact campaign. He's running that, and I think it's ingenious, honestly, where he's at. American first, do it. Like everything that he's running is like Trump without the psychosis, which is what he says,
Yeah, I think, honestly, Vivek is doing something that is needed, and that is unashamed leadership. Like I said, he's just speaking his mind. He's calling things out. He does do a little things that have come to marketing, right? We don't need Dick Cheney in 3-inch heels. And in the case there's two of them on the stage.
Do you think he rehearses those lines and knows he's going to say them?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. He knows the Dick Cheney with lipstick on. He knows he's going to say to Chris Christie that, hey, you should get a nice meal and get off the stage, right? Here's the crazy thing is everybody, unless you're a Chris Christie fan, is thinking that. That's the thing. Hey, man, just go get a sandwich and you're not even in this race, It
was very much, I was reading one of the articles, which we don't have time to go to. It was Nikki Haley and Chris Christie on one side, and then it was Vivek and Ron DeSantis on the other side. Like you could tell Ron DeSantis actually liked Vivek.
He was laughing.
He was laughing at them, like, hey, this guy's kind of funny, right?
Oh, shit, right?
I actually like Ron DeSantis. I get him. I don't think he's entertaining. I don't think he's presidential. I don't think anything, but I get him. Do I think he's a career politician and everything? Yeah, a little bit. But for all politicians, I don't mind him. I think he's actually necessary as a politician. I think he's a good governor. I think all that stuff too.
Agree.
I also don't think he would have won without Trump's endorsement either back in the day. And I think it's kind of a bad news for him to run against Trump and then try and take this on. And I think his ego is getting bigger and he thought it was the window. And I think he slowly found out, and it's a big thing. But I will say this, I do like Ron DeSantis better than Nikki Haley.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Listen, I don't trust either of them, but Ron DeSantis more if he's in the polls more. But Vivek, man, I think get rid of all three and keep Vivek and Trump and have them run against each other. That would be cool.
We will see. We're going to see what happens, and maybe we'll get into the next podcast.
The Iowa caucuses is coming up, so
the chances of who is going to actually run or not. All right, let's get into our last story, and I'm not going to play it because it's on Valuetainment, and we don't have permission. I don't think we have permission to play it. So you were there, so I want you to talk about this.
Did anybody write an article about this or no?
Not yet, no. So I don't know enough. RFK stumbles when asked about gender transition surgery for teens. So I'm not going to play this, but from basically it's PBD asking him, hey, what are your thoughts? Patrick,
I wish we could play it because there's a point in it where one thing I like about RFK Jr., and I met him, great guy. I told him, I said, hey, I shook his hand. Guess the first words I said to him?
I'm going to be president.
I might run for president one day too. That's what I said, you know? And so he, by the way, that line wins with everybody. They look at you a little bit different. Oh, who is this guy, right? And by the way, that or, hey, I have a boxing match next week. Oh, good luck. Where can I watch it? Two things. Hey, I'm a marketing consultant. Nothing. No big deal, right? But anyway, when I talk to him, the one thing I like about him is as he's answering the questions, he's reading Patrick Ben-David's response, and you're rolling your eyes, and he calls it at it, right? Because you can tell it could bother him. And he was in troubled territory how he answered the question. And when he answered the question, he answered it not the way that, at least for the audience at the town hall, which is more of a Vivek-friendly thing, should have answered it. And I don't think it did him any favors. So I almost hate that this is the one, because I actually like RFK Jr. I really like him. I was talking about this with Dad. I believe he wants the best for America. I believe he has a very troubled thing. I believe he speaks the truth about like vaccines and stuff and doesn't care at all. I think he does a lot of good by bringing stuff out as well, which is why they want to silence him. So I don't mind him. However, there's some deep-rooted issues that are the left-leaning issues that I don't 100% agree with, that he agrees with. And it came out in this point that he didn't want to say it. And smart decision by him while he's live and how many reviews it is, knowing that he has to pull votes from both bases, right, in a way, because he's trying to play spoiler to both as independent. So, but man, if you draw the line at I'm okay with kids just because of their indoctrination in schools being able to mutilate their bodies and have the government pay for it and then have them kill themselves later on and do it. And I'm okay with that because I don't know. And he actually said something. He actually tried to make it a department and said it in a good way. He said, well, because then Patrick pushed back and said, well, kids driving their license at 14, can they drive their license without parents? Can they vote without parents' consent? And he said, well, that's not harming anybody else. Meaning if they do something to their own body, right, it's only harming themselves.
Right. So that's the thing. They're only harming themselves. So what's the issue with that? Right. So, which is like almost at like a brief, like for a moment, you're like, well, wait a minute. I guess that is a good question. Like, let's talk about this for a second. If I'm only hurting myself, then why can't I have the actual?
It's the abortion thing too, right? Like my body. It's the vaccine thing too, you know?
So first off, listen, RFK was trying to do the right thing and play both sides. And to that audience, it wasn't the great thing. And PBD was like, they're talking about cutting off dinglings, right? And the thing is that argument of like, hey, the person's only hurting themselves. At first, it sounds logical, but let's break that down really quick because I think that needs to be addressed. And that is this. Listen, if somebody's only hurting themselves, do we allow them to do that? So what does that mean? If you watch somebody looking to cut themselves, right? And they're bleeding, they're causing scars. Well, they're only hurting themselves, so they might as well go ahead and do that. If you're looking at somebody who takes a knife and goes, all right, I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to look at my forearm and I'm going to cut from here to here and I'm going to cut off the skin from my forearm. Is that okay? Would we stop them? If you see somebody going, I'm going to take a knife and cut, well, they're only hurting themselves. But they could bleed out. They could die. Yeah, but they're only hurting themselves. Well, somebody's about to commit suicide. Yeah, but they're only hurting themselves. The problem is it goes back to what we all know deep inside, is that this is a mental thing. If you feel as if, I'm going to give you an example. Remember, Jeff, when you felt like you had scabies on you. What if you took a knife out and you're like, I'm going to cut off the skin of my
face? So close. That was after Jay passed away. I was losing my mind 100%. And I read something. And by the way, I'm the best manifestor person, hypochondriac there is. I can read something and envision that it's there more than anybody else. I think it's a gift and a curse. And I felt a curse on that, and I wanted to.
Just defense, it was during the summer, and it was a hot, sweaty summer, and at that point, you could always feel like there's bugs crawling on you, even if the ACs aren't working all that great. But if you were to take a knife out and you were to say, I'm going to cut off my face, if I said no, that you know what, that's okay, you could do that. At what point do we stop and say this is getting too much? We need to stop doing that. Have you ever seen the photos of people who are trying to create, women who are trying to create penises?
Dude, I really don't want to see this stuff.
Okay, I know you don't, but that's the theory. That's the thing. Like, well, they're only hurting themselves, right? If they're cutting off their dinglings, or the women are creating their own penises.
By the way, did you see the video with Kyle where they set the girl up and she puts a banana down her pants?
I didn't see that.
Oh.
So the point is these people are hurting themselves. At what point do we stop it and go, this is not okay? What's going on is bad. And here's the thing. If the surgeries were great, I'd be like, all right, you know what? I get it. But the fact that somebody needs to have a vagina that's created and they need to dilate themselves 3 times a week, which means they need to stick something in their vagina and pry it open so the wound doesn't close up, so they can have their own vagina. When do we go, that's not okay?
Yeah, dude, you did a lot of reading on this.
This is not.
I'm going to be with my boy RFK Jr. and say I don't have enough information.
This is the crazy thing, is I haven't done a lot of reading about this. This is just what's out there, right? The problem is like, if you just look and see what's out there, this is what people are talking about. The problem is even people that I know and people that I love are like, Josh, you're crazy. You're talking about any of this. I'm like, have you looked into any of what this is? Like, this is why I'm very cautious, because I want to tell my son, hey, listen, yeah, if you don't want to, you could cut off your dick. It doesn't make any logical sense. If we were to the point of where, like, we had these beautiful surgeries and we could create things, we're not there. Even if we were there, like, it wouldn't make sense, but we're not there. But we're telling kids that we are. So at this point, I think it's very simple. Anything under 18, you can't do any physical body changes. After 18, you're free to do whatever you want. But underneath 18, you cannot do whatever it is you want. Don't do puberty blockers. Don't do things like, you're just going to destroy somebody who is mentally not progressed. Have them talk to a therapist. The problem is most of these therapists are now just do affirming care. When somebody says, man, I feel like I'm in the wrong body, I feel awkward. This is the reason why I'm so passionate about it. You had a really good way, Jeff, when you were younger, of like, hey, you could shun off hate, and you could just like be cocky no matter what. And you were the man no matter what. And you were the man. Ignorance, arrogance, whatever it was.
Myself.
You correct, but it was a good facade. You believed it, and you could just go go live life through it. I felt awkward. I remember the first times that I started to get facial hair. I remember the times when I first started to get body hair. And like as I was growing, my hair was growing longer. And like all this stuff was happening, I felt awkward. Mom had died. I felt awkward. I did not feel right. I didn't feel like a man. I felt like a confused kid who just I wasn't satisfied. I remember I would try and like comb my hair, do whatever it is, and I hated the vision of everything I saw in the mirror. I was struggling with a lot. Mom had died.
I remember those days. I really remember those days.
Right. And if somebody said to me, Josh, you might be a girl, who knows what I would have thought back then. Now, here's the thing.
By the way, can I stop and say I'm proud of so much of the work you've put into yourself to where you're at now? Father, husband, leader, the leadership that you have, seeing you from that point of where I remember it broke my heart to see you like that. You're right. I didn't have that. I built up this, and by the way, I didn't have that, but I built out a fake confidence because it was my insecurity to mask what that same deal was. Okay. So and if I had to pick between both of them, as troubling mine is, and that brings we know a few arrogant people, I won't name them, that if you let that go, it can become unhealthy. Okay. So luckily, thanks to me, thanks to Jackie, okay, who called me out on stuff, and I realized that that's really who it was. But I didn't want to say.
By the way, it's a great frame of leadership, because I could say something to you, and you may never hear it from me. But if you hear it from the right person who has influence over you, it can cause change.
But it's always women for me.
One of the most important things of leadership is, and this is one lesson I'm going to have to learn. I know I'm going to struggle with it with my son, is who is the most influential on this person. If it's you, you can influence that person. But there are times, in most cases, where you're not the most influential on that person. And in order to influence them to make a next decision, it might have to be through somebody else. You might have to go to the other influencer and say, hey, listen, I noticed such and such is going through this. This is what I noticed. They're not going to listen to me, but they possibly will listen to you. If we care about them, can you suggest maybe A, B, and C and see what they say? Because you might not be the lead influencer. And that's one of the lessons that I learned being a manager, is I'm not the lead influencer when it came to certain things. And I'd have to look and find and say, who is the lead influencer here? Or that person?
By the way, I remember Dad saying stuff, and I remember you definitely saying stuff that when it came in and I heard it that day, and I really remember that day, you're like, oh, this is what Josh was trying to tell me. I get it. So not to say that I didn't, but you're right, the influence did it. And by the way, as I'm thinking back, I remember Caitlin, former future wife, Chicago girl, being in Walmart, walking around, and her saying the same words to me. No, you don't have to be the best. You don't. She's like, you really don't. Like, you can just be a better version of yourself. And I didn't get it. I was like, nope, I have to be the best. Like, I'm going to be the best. And I still have that crazy like madness to me, but it's so toned down of, let me help other people be the best. It's not about me. It's about other people. And it's all leadership. It's all learning that who can I get to influence people? It's not on me. If I can get Andy O'Date known more than me, then that's fine. He can influence and lead people and do that as well, you know?
Well, being the best is a facade, because we're going to die. And then the people who come after us will have better technology and they'll learn how to be better.
Yeah, so just be the best for that time. Be that best. But listen, there's a point, okay? There's a point, and this is what Patrick and David said with Elon Musk. It was a great thing with the Nelk boys. He's in there. They talked all this, and I don't even know how much I listened to it. By the way, there's another interview, and I sent it to you, and I woke up to it this morning at the end. It's the most chilling interview. And Tom Billio, shout out to him, Impact Theory. He tells a crazy story, and the way he interviews, I want to learn how he interviews, because he does it in such a thought-provoking way with Patrick and David. And he talks about it. And Patrick and David lays out the data and takes God out of it. It's really cool, because it was he knew the right words to say to Tom Billio that makes him think. It's the end of their long interview. I didn't even watch the whole interview. It's the last like 10, 15 minutes. It's actually really good. because it's talking about the change that we're happening now. And he's encouraging Tom Bilyeu to keep doing what he's doing, which is what you notice Patrick McDavid does. He finds people, he knows how to talk to them, and he encourages them to go. He did it to me. He's done it to everybody else. And that's what he's an encourager for other leaders, you know?
Yeah,
leaders
did
do.
it to Vivek. He went on Vivek's podcast. So
I didn't watch that.
Yeah, and he's pushing him. He's like, well, you go and challenge the pharmaceutical companies because they have influence in this and this and that. Vivek goes, I actually don't know the data on that. Let me find out the data. He's like, I think you should because this is what's happening with everything. And Vivek was like, I don't think it's as bad as you think. He's like, this is the data. You should look into it. And Vivek was like, I'm going to. Okay, yeah, that's good. Vivek has respect for PBD. So he's like, okay, yeah, you know what? I should look into that. Where it was a better answer than how, circling back to what RFK said, was like, I don't know much about that. And I think that there's a lot of different scenarios.
By the way, everybody in the comments was being like, BS, he doesn't know about that. He's walking back because he walked into it and then he walked out of it. And it was just, and listen, I like RFK. It was not a great moment for him in that. I think the whole town.
It's real simple. This is the answer. I love human beings. I love people for who they are. I think it's very simple when it comes to something that serious and a life-altering decision. Children should not be making it. That decision should be after 18 years old, if it's something that they want to do. And even then, I still think you need to go through a lot of therapy to figure out if that's something that you really want to do, and not gender affirming therapy, because what's happening with this therapy is they're pushing people into therapies who say, oh, you feel like you're another person, so let's get you ready for transition. That's what the therapy is about.
I still remember
transition therapy. It's not actual therapy of like, hey, what's the root cause of you feeling this way? It's not dialing down what the root cause is. And that's the scary thing, is you push people into therapy, you think that, oh, we're going to deal with the issues, but instead of them dealing with the issues, they just deal with transition. Okay, so this is how it's going to feel to transition. Imagine, Jeff, if you felt frustrated, right? After everything happened, you talk about, I went to therapy, and you told the therapist off because you're smarter than the therapist and your whole story, right? Imagine that therapist came in and said,
me and Andrew Tate.
Right, exactly. So imagine if the therapist.
By the way, the Andrew Tate George Janko podcast is really good. You're right, and I got to listen to that. I paused.
Yeah, shout out to George Janko.
George Janko is the man. By the way, and I'll say this right now, and you can clip this. George Janko, his podcast, how it's come up. Congratulations to all the guy. Devin would love him on either this or when I have him in, if he's ever in Miami, because George Janko took a stand. He has so much wisdom. I learned from him on that podcast right there. When he had questions calculated because he knew Andrew Tate's audience, and he's almost like Patrick McDavid-esque, where he knew he was going to ask questions and share things about porn and certain things that we talked about past on this. And he did it in such a way that made it make sense to me and other people going forward. And he was talking about whether they're programming, it's a whole nother topic, but whether they're programming people, even in pornographic stuff, to think this stuff and make them be rapists, right? And he made a joke. So it was a point in that. And the way he was saying it to Andrew Tate, who has such a big young boy following, and he's saying, hey, don't watch this because it's actually programming you, makes every young kid be like, man, I don't want to program TV thing, which maybe you saved a few people if you really catch it, because he has the thing. It's very calculated, done, and maybe that gets 1 million viewers. You actually catch some young kids and change that, because Andrew Tate, the reason why they silenced him is because he had the voice of all the young men, and they want that. They don't want him to have that because it doesn't fit with the narrative of the Matrix.
Well, the narrative of the Matrix is basically to dehumanize masculinity, because if you dehumanize masculinity, there's no fight back.
By the way, go talk to any lady, then this could be a
You gotta work on the interrupting thing.
Sorry, you get me going. I started, and I know I'm complimenting myself, but I started this podcast. Go check back all the tapes. I was very good at not interrupting.
When we first started dating, I didn't cheat on you.
That's interrupting and cheating is not the same.
I'm just saying. All right, listen, are there any other stories you want to hit? It's been 2 hours on this baby.
No, that's it. I do want my picture with me and RFK. I gotta find that.
So post it and put a link in
Would you bring RFK on this?
Of course. I love RFK.
It's funny. I talked to Christy. Do you know Christy of Valuetainment?
Yeah, I saw you with a video of her. Yes.
So she's
Somebody
one of the.
Well, she reminds me of I think Juliana Pena. Is that who I think of?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So they hired a whole bunch of people. I met all the new Valuetainment comedy people. She's a part of the skits, and she writes a lot of the blogs on VT.com. And she also, I love VT. I love everything Valuetainment's doing. There's definitely a lot of synergies there. So she's cool. I'm a fan of her. And it's funny, they do interviews after, and she's very good at it. She does interviews of, hey, what do you think of that? And after the Vivek one, I was all charged up. I felt like I saw myself in Vivek, and I'm all charged up at the interview. She's like, oh my God, you crushed that interview. And I did. After RFK, I asked her before, I say, hey, how was the energy of the interviews here? Was it a little bit more low key? And she goes, yeah, it was. I said, well, what do you think of the RFK thing? This is before, right? I don't know if we'll put it on here. And she goes, well, it's kind of hard to hear him with his voice. And I said, yeah, I thought the same thing. I said, what is RFK's voice? What happened with it? It was
we talked about it before on this. Just remember this. Remember this. Your voice box, right? It has muscles. What happens is he has a disease where his muscles spasm. So imagine, you ever have a muscle twitch? That's happening the whole time while he speaks.
Oh, wow.
His muscles are spasming the whole entire time while he speaks. So it causes it to sound like that. So he had surgery on it. It was really bad. He had surgery on it. It's better. And actually, when he speaks, it's actually good for his voice box because it works out the muscles. So the muscles become stronger. So he says, it's actually good that I speak. And he says he hates it. And he apologizes to anyone who has to listen to his voice. He's like, I hate the fact that I sound like this.
But dude, I give him credit because even with his voice, that can make a reason of not to run for president because he has that, right?
Right.
He still does. And even then, I thought about it when he was sitting down next to a guy who was an RFK fan. I could tell he liked RFK. He was there for RFK. And I said to him, and I mean this, and I'll go on record saying this, he's the only independent, just like we had the libertarian win in Argentina, the only independent I could actually see winning. Like this year.
I agree.
And he even talked about the polling because of just where we're at, Republican, Democrat, fed up. Everybody wants something different. He's something different. He has a shot. He has a legitimate shot. I think he knows it. It's a long shot, but he has a legitimate shot. So I said it to him. And when I said that, I thought, man, they always have people who do Trump imitations. I thought, who's going to do the RFK imitation? It's not going to hurt their voice,
Oh, trust me. They'll do it. They won't care. They'll do it.
I mean, there's already a guy imitating Vivek. He does a pretty good job, too. You've seen it?
I have seen it, actually. I think
it's actually pretty good. Vivek is very fun to imitate. I'll admit that. He's so...
He's a character. He's a character,
He's totally a character. And I like Vivek. He kind of reminds me of a cartoon character, like McGee and Me, in a way,
I do know what you mean. All right, what else do you want to add before we wrap this up?
Nothing, just great. I mean, this was a great episode. I believe we went in here. So it was definitely energy charged. There's a lot of clips. So Nathaniel, our team. Oh, I got the skinny on cutting this up and then putting out the episodes and when to drop them, the little pieces, and how you drop them for the times.
Maybe on next show we'll talk about the Alex Jones interview with Tucker Carlson and see if he's actually going to come back. A little bit more about that Hunter Biden story because that was crazy. I think we should also do that is check some breaking news as we talk because a lot of times we talk at 8 o'clock at night and there's breaking news of things that happen.
Yeah,
a lot of times what I've noticed from watching Suits, which, by the way, if you haven't watched Suits.
Oh, I just got Netflix. I can watch it. It was on. I have so much stuff to watch. I have Andrew Tate. I have PBD's book. I have and then I have a whole company I'm trying to keep afloat right now.
Anyway, a lot of things can happen late at night with lawyers. So it's pretty crazy. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up. This is episode 10 of the J&J podcast. Be great. Have a great rest of your night. We love you guys. And subscribe if you're not subscribed.